seats by the windows. And the first place we went to was a nicer hotel, and picked up a guy from Chicago that was, he was the head of the, well, I don't know head, but he was part of the maintenance department for United Airlines in Belize.
Okay.
And so we picked him up, and then we picked up a couple from near that small airport you see there. They were on their honeymoon, and they had rented a private island off of Belize there.
Okay.
That belonged to Belize yet.
Okay.
And so we picked them up. Well, I was sitting in the front seat of the van, and I had my map. I always carry a map, and I had my map open on the seat. And she asked me, was I the tour guide? And I said, no, you don't want me to be your tour guide. and anyhow, then we introduced ourselves, and they were from Bowling Green, Kentucky.
Okay.
And so then we headed on out. All the other people that went to Alton Ha were off of the cruise ships, the big cruise ships there was like 3 or 4 of them there at the time. And they ride there in their big air conditioned bus, and
Mm-hmm.
and that's it. So there was a bunch of people out there, but it was still wasn't crowded really or nothing. So anyway, we did the whole tour, which was nice. I think we spent 6 hours traveling and the tour itself. And so after we got back and we let the other people off where they were going to, I still had a pretty long ride with the driver, and we started talking about traveling and where I was from and different things.
And again, his English was great because it's an old British colony.
Right. No problem there. And anyhow, when I told him about San Francisco and I was back there in the hippie days, he wanted to know about the women. And the young hippies there. Anyhow, it was nice. We had a good long talk and drive and just took it easy and everything. Well, so on the way to the hotel, he told me about the Ambergris Key, the small island. That was a beautiful island off of there. And I had planned to go down to the southern part of Belize, but they were having dengue fever, which is a mosquito you can get sick and die from it. Right. And bad sand fleas. So I decided, well, I'll take his word for it. And in the morning, I caught a water taxi, and they're nice boats, nice taxis, and went out to Key Calker. And
where is Key Calker on the map?
Okay, from Belize City, out of Hollover Creek, you come out and take that around that little point, and you head north.
Okay.
And to the east a little bit.
On Google Maps, the taxi is in a dotted blue line, so you can see the route that it takes. Okay.
It shows up really, really good, and it shows right where it lands there on Key Calker. And then also there's another island above that, which I'll talk about later. It goes up to San Pedro, and that's Ambergris Key. That's a bigger island, but I didn't like it at all. But Key Calker. Anyway, I land on Key Calker, get out and start walking around trying to see where I was going to stay, find me a hotel. And I thought my blood was going to boil.
Why is that?
It was so hot. It was unbelievable. I didn't know it was going to boil, but I mean, it was unbelievable.
Now I'm thinking that because you're on a small key in the middle of the Caribbean, you're going to have nice breezes and everything else. No?
Yes, it did, but it was still hot. My room that I stayed in at night was or during the day was 97 degrees.
So it was not air conditioned.
No, I don't take air conditioned rooms. I could have on the Bell Cove hotel. I could have had an air, but I didn't. I took the non-air conditioned, and they had air conditioned at the place I stayed at there. And I went to a Chinese hotel on Key Calker, and they had air conditioned rooms, but I didn't take them.
Okay.
And but I mean, it was unbelievable. And so then I made up my mind that that's where I was going to stay. and I was going to start getting ready to. So when I got to Costa Rica, that I could do these, because we were going into the rainforest. You had the upper and the middle and the lower rainforest, and we were going to do lots of walking, miles of walking.
On Key Calker.
I decided I was going to stay there on Key Calker and get in shape, because I was out of shape.
Okay. Now I'm looking at Key Calker and all the things on Key Calker. I see lots of bars. I see lots of restaurants where you can eat meat. And you're a guy who doesn't drink, and you're a vegetarian.
Well, I'm not a true vegetarian, because I do eat fish and seafood.
Okay. So there was,
I don't eat meat and fowl, and but I do eat fish and seafood.
And again, tell the story as to why you don't eat meat. It's not a religious thing. It's not a health thing per se. Tell the story as to why you don't eat meat, for those of you who don't know.
Well, when I got to Kabul, Afghanistan, I got bad sick on some. It was stupid, the meat that I was eating, and I got bad sick, and I 3 months of dysentery, and so I just kind of quit eating it. And then when I got farther to Southeast Asia and Far East and stuff, it was mainly fish anyhow. You didn't eat meat, or if it was in a Chinese restaurant where you had little pieces of meat, and I just had quit eating it. And when I started eating it again, I would just get very sick.
Right.
And my body couldn't handle it.
Well, you also told me a story one time about how they would hang the meat and the flies would land on it, and that's how it was sold, and that just kind of turned your stomach too.
Well, that was how I got sick in Kabul, Afghanistan, from eating that. They would put it on shish kebab, and do it.
Right.
But they hardly cooked it at all, know. And I mean, nothing was refrigerated. It was terrible. I shouldn't have never ate it, but that was it. I did.
And you don't drink alcohol for the most part.
No. But, I mean, I could have, like in India and those places, I could have paid $1 for a bottle of beer.
Yeah.
Why? When I was living for a week for $1.50, so I wasn't going to spend no dollar for a beer.
So what did you do on Calker Key?
I got my room and everything, and just started walking around.
And what was the hotel in which you stayed? The Chinese hotel.
I went to a Chinese hotel, and it was nice.
Do you remember the name of it?
I think it was called the Chinese Hotel.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Right now it slips my mind here, but anyway, it's called the Chinatown Hotel.
Okay.
And it had a nice swimming pool. And even though the water was nice, the Key Calker it's called the Split. If you look up in the middle of it, there's called the Lazy Lizard, which is a bar there.
Yes, I'm looking at it.
Hung out there. Well, that was the Split, but it was a nice place to go swimming, but the current was really bad, and I've had shoulder surgery on my rotator cuff on my right arm, and I couldn't swim in there. And if you went down the whole part of the island, you could go out there swimming, but to really go swimming, you had to walk out like almost a quarter of a mile or something to get to deep water.
Okay.
So I did do swimming in both places, but I swam in the pool almost every day. It was really nice. And because I would get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, or whenever the roosters out back started crowing.
Okay.
And I'd start walking the city. And I started out 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 miles a day, just walking. And I walked the whole island around it and through it. And anyway, it was really nice in the morning before it even got light out. I was out walking. And
well, the whole length of the island, if you look at the Split south, the whole length of the island it's not a mile long.
Oh yeah, it's more than that.
Okay, well, 1, 2, 3, maybe a little more than a mile, it looks like.
Yeah, because but I'd walk around it 2-3 times a day.
Exactly.
The whole thing, or wherever the roads would go, and I'd look over stuff and just check out things. But where am I at here? Sorry.
Now, is Key Caulker a tourist destination, a local spot? What's the main draw to Key Caulker?
It's just a pretty island, and there's no automobiles on it.
Oh, really?
Well, let me take that back. The only vehicles on it are the businesses. They have to go to the dock. Everything comes in by barge. Mm-hmm. And they have to pick up their stuff for the hotels or whatever their businesses are. They're, whatever they got. Okay. There's a big power plant. Well, it ain't a power plant. 3 diesel engines that run the power for the whole island. All the fuel has to be brought in. They bring the truck right on the ferry, the fuel truck. Okay. And so I'd go down there at the pier and I'd watch that too. I'd watch them come in. I went to where they generated the power and looked over their diesel engines and all that stuff. And I started just meeting people and talking to people. And that's what I was saying. The people were still traveling like I did back in the 60s and 70s, but they would fly from place to place instead of go over land. Right. More, almost always. Even if they could, they would fly. But I met people from Japan, from South America, Canada, United States, cowboy and cowgirl from Montana. I mean, it was amazing. It was just, I just started walking, and all the locals would hang out and they tried to sell you pot. And I don't remember if it was the police station in Belize City, but I think it was the police station on Key Caulker that had a sign right on the police station that people will try to sell you pot, but it's illegal for you to have pot or to smoke it or whatever. I think it was illegal to have it. Sure. But they didn't bother the local people that did it. Okay. And they would, in the parks and stuff, they would be trying to sell it to you. I just tell them, no, I didn't need that. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But so anyway, like I said, just got ready, just walking every day, and got rid of my. Well, I don't wear shoes anyhow. I did have a pair of shoes that I could wear in water or stuff when I went out into the ocean or the Caribbean, and I got my feet back in shape barefoot. So you did all this walking barefoot. Yes. And that's how you traveled in Asia too. Yes. Mm-hmm. Except for in the cities, and I wear flip-flops where it's dirty and stuff like that. Right. But there on that island, I didn't need them. It took a while though to get my feet accustomed to it again, and then did it. And remember those pictures I sent you here when I thought we was going to do the podcast here a while ago about the dog sitting by the gate. Yes. Of that beautiful home. Yes. And it has a sign on the gate. The dog has a gun and refuses to take his medication. Yes. And the reason I like that, it was part of the walks that I did every day. And that dog, he was either sitting there looking up at that sign, just like the picture shows, or he'd be on the opposite side looking up at the picture. Once in a while, he'd hear me coming, and then he'd walk out there to the fence and sit down. Uh-huh. But it just struck me funny that sign there, and that dog would sit there just like that and look up at that sign. It was crazy. But that was a beautiful house. That was one of the most beautiful houses there on the island. And so anyway, then I went on a scuba diving tour. I took a scuba diving tour off of to the Barrier Reef, and we went out. I didn't go to the main part of the reef. It was there's a bunch of reefs there. In fact, the one reef is the second largest reef in the world. Other than Australia, Great Barrier is the biggest. Now, if I'm looking at
Key Caulker, where is the scuba diving?
Well, the scuba diving was off of, I don't know. I took